Kyra from KyraWilliamsFitness.com, and today I want to talk about transitioning from tracking macros into eating intuitively. But before we dive in, we need to examine exactly what I mean by tracking macros and eating intuitively. So let's define those. As far as macros go, that would be weighing and measuring your food, tracking it in an app to see how many calories, grams of protein, grams of carbohydrates, and grams of fat that you get from each food. You can manipulate these numbers to help you lose fat. So yes, eating less calories than you consume will help you lose fat. It also could help you, it might make you lose muscle, so we have to do that carefully. I highly suggest working with someone who is trained in this to be able to help you. I'm one of those people. Anyway, and then manipulating those numbers, like pairing carbs with protein, helps balance and regulate your blood sugar. Adding in more fat to your diet helps keep you satiated longer. And just doing these different kind of manipulations will allow you to lose fat, maintain your muscle mass. It's really great, but it doesn't come without drawbacks. So, when tracking macros, yes, it takes a long time and you do have to know a couple things about nutrition. And, you can't just be like, well, I'm just going to eat this orange. Because once you track this orange, you're going to be like, dang, that was just a bunch of carbs and no protein. So now I'm going to have to make sure that I get enough protein later today. So it can be a little cumbersome. It definitely takes a learning curve. It's pretty time consuming, and it can make you, if you're already kind of on that cusp of not really having a great relationship with food, it can definitely make you get even harder on yourself, because, you do have to be meticulous. So if you're on that cusp of not just being able to look at food as numbers, then it might not be the right thing for you. Now, it's great because obviously it helps you achieve your goals, and it does it pretty effectively and pretty efficiently if you do it correctly. But it's also great too because then you get to learn. You get to see hey, oranges really just have carbs and they don't really have a lot of fiber. Maybe let me pick a fruit that has more fiber. Or gosh, I just ate this whole bowl of fruit, but that was all carbs and I got no protein. So it helps you learn, and that's another really great benefit to it as well. But, like I said, if you're already on that cusp of let's say you go to a friend's house and your friend has just made this lovely pie and she made it from scratch and she's really proud of it and she really wants to share it with you. Imagine saying no to that, because first of all, you're going to feel bad about saying no to your friend. You're going to feel sad because you missed probably one of the most delicious eating experiences you'll ever have with I really love pie. So you don't want to miss out on these experiences. But if you're sitting there so tied to making sure that you hit your macros precisely, then you could miss out on these experiences, and that could lead to resentment. And then, what is that going to do for you in the end? You're not going to be able to rely on willpower and be restricted for very long, because it's going to run out and you're going to ultimately end up not being able to stick with this long term. So that's, a really great reason to start potentially eating intuitively. So what do I mean by eating intuitively? Having knowledge and understanding of food in general, nutrition in general, I think is really important when it comes to eating intuitively, because it's not just about being whimsical, oh yeah, I'm just gonna eat whatever, whenever. You still have to plan, you still have to prepare, you still have to have education. And so you need a general, I think we all, if you're following me, you pretty much know that you're gonna get protein when you eat shrimp and fish and steak and cottage cheese and turkey. And you're going to get carbs when you eat beans and rice and bread and strawberries and cantaloupe. And you know you're going to get fat when you have olive oil, when you have avocado, when you have a fattier cut of meat. Like, you have to have that foundational knowledge. You have to, it's not whimsical. It's not just like, oh, whatever. All of your decisions are still made out of a place of logic, education, and understanding. But it's all about like listening to your body. So let's say you wake up one morning and you're like, I'm absolutely famished. And you're just like, I have to eat something. And like, you have your protein shake. So like, let's say, you're tracking macros, and like how you do it is, you have a protein shake in the morning, and then later on in the day, that's when you add in like your more like carbs and fat. But like, if you are following, like listening to your body and eating intuitively, and you have your protein shake and you're like, I'm still absolutely starving, I'm going to go to the gym, like have a banana, and you're like, oh man, that like felt so much better. Or let's say like it's you make your lunch, you make your salad, and you're like, okay, well, according to my macros, I need to like finish this whole salad that's got 6 ounces of chicken and 6 ounces of sweet potato and like a pound of vegetables. And you're eating it, and you're just like, I'm done. Like, I don't want to eat anymore. Like, I'm full. You listen to your body and you stop, rather than just being like, yeah, but like, I have to make sure that I hit my protein intake. So I've got to just like get this chicken down. No, you stop. You're like, I'm absolutely full. I'm actually getting some food aversion right now. I'm not going to force myself to eat this. So macros is manipulating your choices to hit certain number goals for protein, fat, carbs, and calories. And then eating intuitively is listening to your body, slowing down to actually listen, and trusting. And so that can be challenging. So I'm going to give you 4 tips today on how you can transition from counting macros to eating intuitively. And the reason I say transition is because I don't really think that you should just like do this overnight. I don't think you should just go like, I'm sick of this, I quit, and just go like, I'm just eating intuitively. Like, that's not what we're doing here. We want to do everything very, what's the word? Intentionally. We're going to be intentional and methodic about it. Because when you're act with intention and you give things attention, you tend to have more success, right? So we are going to be intentional and pay attention throughout these 4 steps. So the first one is to simply slow down and create awareness. So you can do this while you're tracking. In fact, I have 2 clients that are currently tracking right now, but I am asking them to do this in addition to tracking. So for a week, they get out piece of paper, pen. Yes, they're still tracking in their apps. They get out a piece of paper and their pen, and they're like, okay, I woke up and I felt, like I had a really great night's sleep. I, did my typical morning routine. I made my oatmeal with berries. I had protein in my coffee, and afterwards I felt really satisfied, and like that's also one of my favorite meals of the day, and it was just so delicious. I put extra cinnamon in there today, so I really loved it. And then write down like, okay, and then before you eat, so you're like, it's 11 o'clock and I'm sitting here going like, I wasn't planning on eating until 11:30, but like, holy crap, I'm starving. Write it down like, okay, cool, I'm going to have my lunch a little bit early today. I I did my normal like sweet potato, my salad greens, chopped up zucchini, carrots, onions. I had 2 tablespoons of my Primal Kitchen dressing. I had my 6 ounces of chicken, my 6 ounces of sweet potato. Afterwards, I felt great. I was having a little bit of a sweet craving, so I had a piece of chocolate and all was good. So they're not only writing down like what it is that they eat, but how they feel before, how they feel after. And then you're also going to think about how you feel beforehand emotionally, as well as how you feel after emotionally. So let's say that person who is like, I was having a sweet craving after lunch, and so I end up eating, like, I pulled out the chocolate bar from the cabinet and I intended to have 2 squares and I ended up having 6. Man, I feel really guilty. All right, cool, write that down. And then, later on in the day, you go like, oh, well, no wonder I was craving sweets and I had 6 pieces of chocolate. I'm going to get my period tomorrow. Write that down. Write down where you are in your cycle. Write down how many hours of sleep you got, how you slept. Because there's always going to be links there. Like, what's your stress level right now? Are things really stressing you out and making you not want to eat at all? And then by the time you get to dinner, you're absolutely famished. And then your body doesn't digest food very well because you're super stressed. Like, you got to write all this stuff down. So the first, like, at least a week, continue to track, but really start to pay attention to how you feel before, after, and during your meals, and be an investigator. Determine, like, look for correlations, because I bet you'll find some. So the next step is to actually stop tracking. And you don't have to do this for any particular amount of time. Like, you can literally do it for one meal. I'm just not going to track dinner for one day. So that's a challenge that I gave to one of my clients this weekend. I told her, I said, go out on a date with your husband, go somewhere to eat that you really love, and don't track the meal. Like, don't even try and like put it in MyFitnessPal, like a burger and fries, and like guesstimate. Like, you're not tracking it whatsoever. Journal it. Definitely write down like how you felt before, how you felt during. Listen to your body. If you're like, these fries aren't sitting so well, I haven't eaten fries in 3 months, then stop eating them and eat the things that serve you, eat the things that make you feel good. If you can do it for a whole day, then do it for a whole day. But don't use that as an opportunity to just like binge eat a bunch of junk food. Like, oh, if I'm not tracking it, doesn't count. It counts. But just give yourself that time off and journal it, but just don't track it. Or try it for a week, journal it, but keep journaling. Just the tracking is what you take off. The third one I kind of already talked about, but is honoring your body's hunger and fullness cues. So that is going to require slowing down and getting quiet. Chew your food really well. That will also aid in digestion. Smell the smells of your food. Let your mouth water. That's part of the digestive experience as well. Taste all of the flavors. Talk about your food. Talk about how it makes you feel. And if you don't have somebody there to talk to, like, just at least think about it. But slow down enough to where you can hear those cues. You're not just like rushing through a meal as fast as you can. Slow down, pay attention to how it makes you feel and how it all tastes. The other thing too that I mentioned as well, when it comes to paying attention, actually look at the food you're eating, and get an idea of like, this is what like a tablespoon of olive oil or peanut butter looks like, or this is how much, like 4 ounces of protein. I could typically fit that in the little palm of my hand, but like I know that doesn't make me full, so I need like 2 of them. Pay attention to the size of your food, because that's going to help you kind of ease out of tracking. Because if you have an idea of what it looks like, then you'll kind of be able to eyeball things to stay within range when it comes to no longer tracking. And the other thing is that food labels can be up to like 20% inaccurate anyway. So anytime you track a food from, like, how many times have you like weighed something? It's like the package says that something's going to weigh 8 ounces, and then you actually weigh it and it's like 7.2 ounces. Like, that happens. So food labels can be up to 20% inaccurate anyway. So when you think in your head that, like, if you're trying to be perfect, you're not being perfect. There's no way to really be precise. Like, even if you measure down to the gram, food labels are still going to have some inconsistencies. So get it out of your head that you're ever going to be perfect, because you're not. So, by eyeballing the food that you think you're eating, like, oh, that looks like about 6 ounces of chicken, then you still, like, you might be off by like 7%, but guess what? You may have been off by 7% yesterday when you actually tracked all of your meals perfectly. So, but anyways, like, getting a good idea of like what things look like is also going to be helpful when you completely stop tracking. And then the last thing is, like, you have to remember your why, and you are just always going to be having this conversation with yourself. Like, remembering your why and being like, all right, I don't want to pass down my perfectionism to my daughter. I don't want my kids to see how meticulous I am and how stressed out I get when things don't go perfectly to plan. Or I'm so sick of being a slave to this tracking app, or I just want to prove to myself that I can do this. Like, whatever your why is, keep it like right there, like at top of mind, so you can recall it very easily. And if you don't know why you want to eat intuitively, and you're just like, oh, I just think it might be cool, dive in, try and figure it out, and come to a conclusion that really resonates with you. Because on the days that this is hard and you struggle, when you can recall a why and something that's like very near and dear to your heart, then you're more likely to be able to stick with it even on like the tough days. Because it's going to get scary. And that brings me to saying that, it is going to get scary. So be prepared to have conversations with yourself and just be like, this is not logical. This is like, the thoughts that you're having aren't logical. You're not going to gain 5 pounds today because you may have had an extra 5 grams of peanut butter. And then just like remind yourself that this is hard and what you're doing is really challenging. And so it's normal to feel scared and nervous and unsure because you've never done this before. And, it's normal to feel super scared about it and apprehensive. So just meet yourself where you're at and remind yourself that you're okay, that you're safe, that you're secure, and you're also completely normal. And just keep having those conversations with yourself. I can't tell you how much that has helped me personally and is helping my clients too. And sometimes my clients text me and they're like, hey, I feel like I'm losing my mind. Like, I just want to go back to tracking, or I'm so nervous about going out and like having this burger and fries and like not tracking it. And how am I going to feel after? Am I going to continue to binge after? And we talk it out. So that's the kind of access that you get with me when you do the mentorship, by the way. Only my mentorship clients can like text me like that. So, but there's still a spot open as a mentorship client. So if you go to the KyraWilliamsFitness.com /sign up or /mentorship, that's where you'll find all that information about the mentorship program to work with me one-on-one like that. So, but if you have any questions, email me, Kyra at KyraWilliamsFitness.com, and let's chat. I want to help you figure this out. So I got you, boo. Anyway, yeah, good luck. And then if you have any questions about this, you can email me, and I'm more than happy to go over this stuff with you. Anyway, thanks for watching. Goodbye.